entering the realm between the hidden and forgotten, a slipstream caught between realities, a secret museum of the esoteric, the private library of shadows, all taking place in a world forged from mystery and caught between logic and myth. You are entering ParaReality.
Good evening, seekers of the strange and the unexplained. Welcome to ParaReality, a place where shadows whisper, mysteries linger, and the line between fact and the unknown grows razor thin. I'm Sandman, your guide through the hidden corridors of reality. Here, every question awakens a mystery, and every mystery pulls us deeper into the truth that's concealed in the shadows. Tonight, we step once again into the world where truth and mystery collide. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. You know, there are certain subjects that we tend to place into separate boxes. Ghosts belong to haunted houses and abandoned buildings, and demons belong to religion, ancient texts, and occult traditions. And UFOs belong in the skies, pursued by pilots and radar operators, military personnel, and researchers searching for evidence of something that's not quite human. And comic books, well, they're supposed to be fiction. And look, I'm a comic book lover myself. If anybody knows anything about me, they know I'm a Spider-Man fan and have been for decades, almost my whole entire life. But every once in a while, you meet someone whose work exists at that intersection of all of these worlds. And tonight we're going to explore what happens when things like art, mythology, paranormal investigations, demonology, and the UFO phenomena begin to cross paths. My guest tonight is Austin Light. He's an independent comic creator and publisher behind American Demon Comics. He's successfully brought multiple projects to life through Kickstarter, and he's even self-published several comics, including Envy, a story that explores demons, religious philosophy, morality, and the complicated territory between what I guess we would traditionally call good and evil. And Austin isn't just simply researching paranormal from behind his drawing board or his easel or his desk. He's also a paranormal investigator. He works with HSVPara team, working alongside Mr. Scott Pelzer, investigating locations where people claim to have encountered things that they can't explain. And then there's another part of his story that makes tonight's conversation especially interesting. Austin earned his degree in graphic design from the University of Alabama in Huntsville. That's a city that's practically synonymous with America's rockets program. Huntsville sits right beside Redstone Arsenal, NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, defense contractors, aerospace engineers, and a history filled with some fascinating and occasionally controversial chapters of America's journey into space. Now Austin is bringing yet another mystery into his work. He's talking about UFOs and UAPs. He's currently developing a UAP-focused comic, adding the phenomena to a creative universe already populated by demons, supernatural forces, religious questions, and a lot of the unexplained. But that's where tonight's conversation, well, it may lead us somewhere much deeper, because when you strip away the terminology, how different really are some of these experiences? For thousands of years, human beings have reported encounters with strange lights and mysterious beings, voices from unseen sources, entities appearing in bathrooms, figures descending from the heavens, missing periods of time, altered states of consciousness, and encounters with intelligences that seem to exist somewhere beyond our understanding. Our ancestors called some of these things angels, and others called them demons. Some called them spirits or gods, fairies, or visitors from another realm. And today we might call them things like extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings, non-human intelligences, or just simply UAPs. But are these completely separate phenomena? Or have human beings been encountering something throughout our history that continue that, well, that we continue to interpret through culture, religion, technology, and the language of our own time? I don't know. But those are exactly the kinds of questions that we're going to talk about tonight. We'll talk about Austin's work with American Demon Comics, the mythology and the philosophy behind envy, his experiences investigating the paranormal, and we're going to talk a little bit about his interest in UFOs and UAPs, because that's been the main topic of this season, right? So I can't not talk about that a little bit with Austin. And we're also going to talk about what happens when someone who spends his time creating supernatural worlds begins encountering mysteries in the real world. So dim the lights, settle in, and keep an open mind, because tonight the boundaries between fiction, folklore, religion, and reality might become a little blurred, might become a little bit hard to see. My name's Sandman. I'm going to be talking to Austin Light here in a minute. Welcome to ParaReality. To learn more about Austin, you're going to have to tune in, and find out. But first, we're going to take our first dreaded required commercial break, and then we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Listen to this, everybody. ParaReality is a proud member of the Evergreen Podcast Network. For more information or to check out other shows on the network, please visit evergreenpodcast.com.
Broadcast from a secret bunker somewhere outside of Nashville, Tennessee. This is the award-winning podcast, ParaReality.
You know, real quick, if you've been enjoying the topics that I cover here on the ParaReality podcast, why not take the journey just a little bit further with my books? I've got 2 of them, 50 Cryptids in 50 States. It is, that's the short title. It's America's Guide, a field guide to America's most mysterious creatures. It's a guide to legendary creatures from across America, and I explore their history, eyewitness accounts, and the evidence behind the legends. And I also have another book called Palo Santo and Sage, Sacred Smoke, spiritual cleansing for a guide of spiritual cleansing for the beginner. Gosh, can't even talk tonight. This explores the traditions behind spiritual uses of cleansing herbs like sage and Palo Santo. And it also has a chapter for paranormal investigators on how you can cleanse yourself, your equipment, and the space that you're coming into and out of. Both books are available now on Amazon. They're here flashed up on the screen, and you can order copies directly from my website too at parareality.com. Thank you for your support, everybody, and happy reading, despite the fact that I stumbled through that horrible commercial about my books. Austin, welcome to the ParaReality podcast. Thanks for sticking through that as I rambled my way through it. I think I'd never done that before. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's, this is a little different. We talked very briefly about this. This is a little bit different than what I normally do, but I'm trying to branch out and talk to a little bit more authors who deal more in fiction than nonfiction. And one of the people that I talked to last year was a guy he goes by the name of Dr. Gangrene. He's a horror host here in Nashville, and he's written a couple of books, and I got really good response out of that. And when you contacted me about being a guest on the podcast, I'm like, man, this guy's going to fit in perfectly with all this. So, I hope that I did you justice on the when I was talking about you when I introduced you. Did I get anything wrong on that?
I don't think you did. Everything sounded right. So
okay,
nothing stuck out. So
great. So for listeners who may be being introduced to you for the first time, tell us about yourself. Who is Austin Light, and how did American Demon Comics come into existence?
Well, I've been drawing all my life. Whenever I would find free time at school or if we had a project to draw, I was usually like the better, like, in the top 5 or whatever of the drawings, or I always had fun making the getting that free time to draw. And I just kind of, it just like always therapeutic, and I always wanted to like pursue it more. So I went through schooling, pursuing that. And there were moments in my life, and I still stumble upon them sometimes, but there were moments where I got to collaborate with like friends as far back as 3rd grade, where
Wow.
they wanted to make a cartoon or comic, and I would draw it, and we would just start this writing, drawing, like, process that started
Yeah.
happening. And for whatever reason, we would lose that. I mean, in 3rd grade, it's like,
Yeah.
we're so ADHD already. We're looking for something else after a couple of months. But I had some friends in my youth group that did it for a while. But again, we just never pushed that to fruition. And I always wanted to do that. And I ran across this app called Webtoon back in like 2017. And Webtoon is basically like the YouTube for independent comics.
Okay.
You can like just post whatever you want on Webtoons and scroll vertically to read it. And it's formatted to where like the panel is like kind of snaking down as you scroll
Okay.
and read it. And that was just so cool to me. I just was like, I want to do this. I want to publish stuff. Because apparently this is like, there's no strings attached to doing this.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I published my first crude, horrible little webtoon, and it was based off a demon that I kept making in college. And I continued to like just make these voluptuous demon girls, but I was like, I want to make a story around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started with envy. And over the course of a few years, I'd be on and off posting on Webtoons to make envy. And then I was working a full-time job listening to Joe Rogan. I had one of those mundane jobs where I was just in my system and I was doing something methodically, but I could listen to whatever I wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
And he was like, God, there's these people, and they just go their whole life working a job that they hate. And I'm like, oh man.
Totally relatable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a few $1,000s saved up, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I just like, hey, I'm quitting in a few months and I'm going to try and do this. That ultimately didn't like work out, but it worked out.
Yeah.
And where I got a new job that was paying me more, but also allowed for me to like work artistically and write and have a lot of free time at that job. So
Yeah.
I'm still there. It's a job at a gym, and I'm also a trainer. So
Okay.
funny story about that too, but that's for later. But since then, I've got off Webtoons. I've rebooted Envy. I started making it for a print comic book, and I've been selling it, going to conventions, trying to promote it. The thing about Envy is I'm very passionate about it. I really love all the demonic lore. I love making these transformations, trying to kind of like describe what the veil is and how they go between the worlds, and just making my own world building is a lot of fun. But like I've never had a central idea to it. But with this UAP project that I'm making, I have a very concrete like goal, idea, direction, and for the past 2 weeks I've been like writing and just writing a little bit of concept art, playing with it a little bit. So I'm super excited for these first couple of chapters of the UAP project.
Now, something that has always, as a comic book lover myself, I mentioned it at the top of the show. I've been a Spider-Man fan since I was a kid, and I still collect Spider-Man stuff now, and I still read the comics, and it's something about that character, that kind of spoke to me. But it's not just Spider-Man. I collect some other comics as well, and one of the things that has always been in the back of my head is the creative process with comics. So, for example, with your comic, when you started writing, did you have a plot or a story already up here in your head? And it's like, okay, this is the story that I want to tell, and this is kind of like a beginning and an end? Or did you just like, okay, I'm going to start creating this comic, and we're just going to see where the story takes us, where that journey goes, and then kind of like make it up from there? Or is it a combo? How does that work for you?
It's definitely a combination, and some stories are that you approach, like for me, it's been the different parts in my life. Like Envy, I've approached it differently because it's the first comic I ever made, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just get started somehow. So I would like I had a general outline, and then I was like, okay, let me just try and follow this outline per episode, and see what happens. But with Envy, there's a lot more that I'm like, okay, what is this character? What's their reaction? Like,
Yeah.
there's the George R.R. Martin said that you got your architects and you've got your gardeners in writing, and your architects want to try and have everything from start to finish as fleshed out as possible. And then you
Yeah.
got your gardeners, as you described, that plant the seeds and see where the seeds grow and which direction they go. Are they tangling with another seed? Are they releasing fruit somewhere else? And both approaches have to have a little bit of like give for the other one, because your characters, because if you had your whole story written out, you're going to reach a point where you're like, this probably needs to go this way.
Yeah.
A little bit. And this character probably needs to make this decision instead. And then that's going to affect this. So you're going to have to like see how that happens. And it's a lot different for like a short story. 'Cause I mean, a single issue, if you have a 24-page book that you're wanting to tell a consolidated story in, that's a lot easier to make as a architected like story that doesn't really need a whole lot of seed and growth and water and sunshine. So it just depends.
And how long does it take you to create a single issue?
It takes.
I'm assuming you're doing all the writing, the drawing, the coloring, if there's any, so.
Yeah. So it for the comic by itself takes approximately 7 to 8 months, maybe
for
9.
One issue.
Well,
wow.
My issues have been running about 35 pages before I'm like, okay, this is a story, or maybe 40.
Okay.
So you can still split that up into 2. So 3 to 6 months to make a 20-ish pages. Now for this next one, I'm alternating to a manga format. And what that's going to do is reduces the page size. And so on the computer, if I'm doing it digitally, not only is the page size reduced, but the resolution that I'm drawing on is reduced. So everything comes out just a little bit bigger, a little bit rougher. And hopefully that will speed up the process per page. Now, I don't want to rush anything. That's not what
Yeah.
I'm doing. But I'm trying to consolidate like the page, because with a comic book page, I'm very rigid and structured with how I'm fitting it on my panels there.
Okay.
But with manga, you're looking at something a little bit more chaotic and a lot more energy happening.
Okay. I noticed you're an Attack on Titan fan. I see the books there behind you.
Mhm.
So which came first for you? The artist interested in like the paranormal and demonology and all that, or the paranormal enthusiast who eventually started putting those ideas into your artwork?
I would have to say the artwork, like being an artist, came first,
Mhm.
and but writing and thinking about a story gives it a lot more fruit. Like it gives my art and drawing and everything a lot more of an engine to go off of than just doing somebody else's story or just
Yeah.
making a single piece that I don't really know what it's gonna turn into. I like having the fiction and the emotions and the strategies and the different things happening
Yeah.
in the story that gives all the momentum to drawing it.
And your central character in Envy is Belial, and that's a, a, a fallen angel and demon king, right? Is okay? So my question is, why Belial? What fascinated you enough about that figure to build a protagonist around her?
So there was a couple of things. I think I was going to go with um, a different demon king. I'm trying to remember. Um, I think I was just going to have her. Eh, eh, to begin with, she was Envy. And then I was like, well, what demon's most associated to Envy? And everything's going back to Leviathan. And Leviathan's not in the Goetia. So I was like, let me consult more of the Goetia and see which of these kings is gonna kind of best fit this situation now.
Mhm.
Now that I'm actually trying to get a little bit more technical with it and pull from these real world books. And I found Belial. I'm probably going to be calling her Belial.
Okay.
But Belial was like the it says second unto Lucifer as a fallen, and also the archetype or the type of uh, ranking as Michael. And Michael is an archangel, so that kind of
Right.
made Belial a archangel as well, as far as I could interpret it that way.
Okay.
And so that kind of made a nice formula for being envious of having her position, or her position being under Lucifer, because it sounded like this king is always being put second instead of first.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I'm going to go with that. Come to find out, this was much more rooted in real world, old theology and everything, than I had realized, because
Okay.
Belial was more or less the original devil. Like before Lucifer was a thing, before Satan was a thing, Belial was the cursed, worthless, and that's what they would say, you are being tormented by, or that's, you know. And so what I could interpret that as is Lucifer eventually comes along and basically usurps Belial in hell, and now Belial is truly usurped. She is not. This is not a fabrication. This is like a actual, like she was the he whatever the original, and um and now she needs to get it back. And in my fiction, I'm calling them incarnations. And as the world progresses and as people give them ideas, they or form these demons into more concrete ideas, they get a little bit more humanized. So each incarnation comes back as like a more refined, human-esque kind of character. So she goes back, and she turned into a human, and then she was killed, and she has woken up. This is where I've left off on. And she has woken up, and she's talking to her first incarnation, and he's going to be trying to churn the engine within her, but they're both the same. Are you familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender at all?
Very vaguely. Very vaguely.
So the Avatar can talk to its predecessors of avatars. And this is kind of what that is. They're the same, but they're different. I guess it's like the Holy Trinity.
Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Yeah.
So
one and the same, but each separate. Okay.
So
well, that's deep.
Yeah, it's so that kind of stuff is like making that kind of lore come together is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And one of the questions I was going to ask you was how much actual demonology, theology, folklore, or religious history goes into creating your characters. And it sounds like a lot. It sounds like you did a lot of research for this.
It is a lot. I've had people say this to me as well. Like, I'm doing a lot of research, but it like doesn't feel like a lot of research. I don't know. I watched this YouTube channel called Esoterica, and
yeah, I've heard of that.
He does a lot of deep dives, and it's like I'm kind of passively listening to him. He made the book suggestions. Like that's where I found out about the Keys of Solomon and Aleister Crowley and Megistus and the ancient, you know, those ancient guys. But I don't know. I find a crumb of the thing, and then that crumb just kind of evolves. Like the Soul Eater monster I've made in this comic. It's part inspired Native American lore, part inspired by this dumb 2000s website called Homestar Runner. And so I was watching this guy, Shadow Glen Productions on YouTube, and he was talking about soul eaters, and they have like this mane of arms and hands. So it's like a lion mane, but it's arms and hands. So that's I put that on this soul eater in my world. And then I also put this big beefy like muscled up arm on it. So it's like this like amalgamation of, because like to me I was like I can just kind of echo the mane of arms into one big one that's just like an actual appendage on it. So but it's also like a callback to this stupid meme that is very vague and very few people will pick up.
You know, that's one of the beauties of creating comics or even any kind of work of fiction is, you know, you can take that world and that's yours. You do with it what you want, and you make up your own rules, your own mythology, you know, and you can borrow from whatever and make amalgamations of things, you know. So that's one of the beauties of being able to be an artist like that, you know. And you know, we're talking about envy and Belial or Belial, however you want to pronounce it. And it, the way I see it is that envy seems to maybe blur the conventional line between what's good and what's evil. So are you deliberately asking the reader to question whether labels like angel or demon or good and evil are as straightforward as religion and popular culture make them?
I yes and no. Um, in a fiction, you want your characters to be some kind of like, you want to have a little bit of relatability and like you want to get behind them
Mm-hmm.
for whatever it is that, they're doing. And I- but for the most part, it's like I don't know, I'm giving them their own personality,
Mm-hmm.
and they may go against what they are, but they still are what they are, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think I see where you're
Um,
going with that.
so Zagan, the other current demon king involved in the story,
Mm-hmm.
says we were made from a primordial magma and the blood of a the congealed blood of God, where they are very ancient, and as far back as like evolution and game theory started trying to like compete, that competition bred something like, for example, in Attack on Titan, they say good is just a label for something, for somebody benefiting from you when it makes you bad to somebody else. And so if you take that and you start, if a organism eats another organism, well,
Mm-hmm.
that organism needed it to survive, but it is also now bad to the family organism that didn't like that. They
Right.
lost.
Right.
So it's starting to make the engine and the conception of these demons that are working off primordial urges,
Mm-hmm.
anger, survival, things that are perceived as bad. Um,
Yeah. I need to survive. So I kill the cow to make the hamburger so I can eat. But now I killed another living creature who maybe had a calf or something like that. So does that make me evil, or am I just doing what I need to do to survive?
mhm. And each
Yeah.
time that happens, it's creating an entity. It's feeding an entity that people are trying to put into words and to put into mythology. And so that's how these in my world are coming to
Okay.
actually they're not fallen angels in the Paradise Lost in the biblical sense.
Like in the traditional sense. Yeah. Yeah. You that looks like you're kind of complex with the way that you're developing that. It's not just a regular pattern that you're following. So I like that. So it, before we head into the commercial break, I have one question I want to ask you. So talking about all this, one of the things that you're also into, besides being a personal trainer and writing and producing your own comics, is you're also a paranormal investigator with Huntsville Paranormal, right?
Mhm.
So how did you get involved in paranormal investigation, and have you have you had any unexplained experiences that just like one or two that you'd like to tell us about?
Um, well, it's so I got involved because I've always wanted to do it. It's
Mhm.
not something that I wanted to stray away from. But we also moved to Huntsville about a year ago, and I've been able to stay in touch with some of my Huntsville friends easier. One of them was Scott from the Deep that my friend Robbie introduced me to, and everybody was like, "Oh, if you're curious about doing this, you should talk to him and you should go with him, see what he says." And so since then, yeah, we've done 3. I think I've been on 3 trips with them for different scenarios. So one of the creepier places was this place out in Aniana. This guy was running he was getting these old military vehicles in a condition to where they could go to the military museum in Huntsville.
Cool.
But he was like a government contractor, does a lot of other engineering projects and stuff like that. But he claimed that he saw some apparitions around this armored personnel carrier, APC, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the APC, but like being there felt very strange. But I think it was just because my alarm bells of like, this is a government contractor. We're out in the middle of like the boonies, and there's like allegedly haunted vehicles here, and there's alleged sightings of UAPs and all that stuff kind of surrounding this. So I felt like that was the most legitimate. And but as far as me having experiences now, I don't know what it was called again. It's the little radio that flips through your signals for the session. That was having a weird in and out thing where the signal would fade and come back and fade and come back. And it wasn't very consistent like it had been in previous things, previous investigations. So we didn't know what to make of that. When we did do the Estes session, we kept hearing things like Mark 10 around your corner, like very military-esque like talk. I can't remember, like on target or something like that.
Interesting.
And that was cool. And
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
I was just say the other cool part about that is that there was another team there that came in later, and they were outside at another vehicle getting similar answers.
Okay.
On their Estes session.
So kind of backing up your evidence. That's pretty cool. Has what I was going to ask was, has any of your experiences influenced how you write or what you put into the comics, or made its way in there in any shape, form, or fashion?
Not yet. Just because like Scott really wants me to do this process where they kind of manifest seeing a UFO, because they did that last year where they had to like think about it and meditate on it, and for like 3 weeks they were doing that. And then all 3 of them go out there. They're very serious. They're very calm. They go out to this field. I think it was like on purpose, like this is a place that had high activity or something. And they said that there was like 4 of them, and all 4 of them saw the same orange orb come in to view and move and do all these weird things. They couldn't Scott's pretty good about being like, that's a bug. That's a plane. I don't know about that. But he was like, that was a thing. That was that was something. And our Estes session they said their Estes session was like off the charts, like talking about the path and gateways and stuff like that. To me, sometimes I'm like, I hope that's not government stuff that we just don't know. And
Yeah.
they're messing with us or experimenting with their stuff to see what we do,
Yeah.
that kind of
You
thing.
never know.
Like
You never know.
I have a big skeptic brain. So like,
Well, you should approach everything with in this field, you should approach it with skepticism. So, thanks for indulging me in answering that question. We need to take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a minute and finish talking to Austin Light with American Demon Comics. So you guys, we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
You've listened to the stories. You've questioned the truth. Now it's time to wear it. Head over to ParaReality.com and check out the official ParaReality merchandise shop. T-shirts featuring the official podcast logo, the iconic ParaReality all-seeing eye, plus mugs, hats, totes, pillows, stickers, and yes, even something for your pooch. But while you're there, don't stop at the merch. Look a little closer. Dig a little deeper. Somewhere on the site, you'll find the entrance to the secret bunker, the members-only section of ParaReality.com. Inside, the ParaReality top secret files. Real FBI documents on UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, Adolf Hitler, and more. Plus classified audio. Some of the strangest messages ever left on the secret bunker hotline, and access to a secret podcast side project that's never been released publicly. And here's the best part. It's all absolutely free. Once you're in, don't forget to claim your free ParaReality Podcast Secret Bunker t-shirt. Just make sure you place your order. The truth is out there. The bunker is waiting. Visit ParaReality.com and find what you weren't supposed to.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Hey, before we finish talking with Austin, got to tell you guys this. If you're going to be anywhere near Hopkinsville, Kentucky this coming up weekend, then I've got an invitation for you guys. So next weekend, August 22nd, 23rd, myself and Austin will be appearing at Goblin Con. And I, for one, would love for you guys to stop by and say hello. And I know Austin would too. So I'm going to have all of my ParaReality podcast equipment set up at my booth. I have my books, my merch, plenty of opportunities to talk about UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, conspiracy theories, and basically all things strange and unexplained. Austin, I know you're going to have your table set up there too with all your American Demon Comics, with everything that you're doing. And I know you'd love for people to come by and find your table and stop by and say hello, get some of your merch as well. So find our tables, come say hello to us. Buy some merch, support the podcast, support Austin with American Demon Comics. And here's something else that I'd personally like for you guys to do. I want you to bring me your story. If you've had an encounter with anything that's unknown or creepy, like a ghostly experience, a UFO, cryptid sighting, or anything else that defies explanation, I want to hear about it. That's the reason why I'm going, is to hear your stories and collect them for the podcast. Tell me your story, because it could end up being featured on a future episode of ParaReality. Don't be shy. Come up, say hello, tell me your story. I have so many people that come up and they say, man, I got this great story and XYZ happened to me. I'm like, great, come put it on this mic. Tell it to me. And they're like, no, don't want to do that. So don't be afraid. If you've got a story, tell it to me. I want to get it on the podcast. Whether you've been listening for weeks, months, years, or whether you just now discovered this podcast, I want to get your story, but I want to meet you as well. So come find me, find my booth, tell me your story, get it on the podcast, find Austin, find his table, buy a comic, get some swag, get something cool, and meet a couple of cool dudes. So if you're planning to attend Goblin Con next weekend, make sure you stop by Austin Light's booth with American Demon Comics. Make sure you stop by the ParaReality podcast booth. We're going to be there. Can't wait to hear you. I want to hear your story, and we'll see you next weekend in Hopkinsville, August the 22nd and 23rd. So, bam, plugs for everybody all around Austin.
All right.
So, before we took a break, we were talking about you're developing a comic that has to deal with UFOs and UAPs. And the primary focus this season on this podcast has been UFO related stuff. Like 99% of everything that I've done this season's been about UFOs and everything. So I want to take a few minutes here and talk about UFOs and UAPs with you and your comics as well. So the first thing I want to ask is, you studied at University of Alabama, Huntsville, right? And talked about that at the top of the podcast. That's Redstone Arsenal, NASA Space and Rocket Center. You got defense contractors, and there's a lot of fascinating aerospace history there. So has living in this environment influenced the way that you think about UFOs and UAPs and like government secrecy as a whole?
I would say in the last year, it has come to light how much it is involved, and it absolutely has inspired a lot coming down the pipe. So,
Okay.
Amy Eskridge, I don't know if you're familiar, to name one.
No, I don't think so.
So Amy Eskridge was daughter to another rocket scientist that was like really influential and big in his lifetime through the 80s, and then he had her, and she's brilliant in her own work on her own right, and like she was very focused in propulsion technology, and developing those sciences. And if I remember correctly, she had a huge breakthrough in 2018, 2019. She was trying to push this propulsion technology kind of info display, kind of like this disclosure of this discovery. And for whatever reason, bureaucracy would keep kind of like, not yet, in a little bit, but not yet.
Yeah.
And then finally, when it was able to happen, there wasn't like any kind of big, reveal. It was just a ghost in the wind, and they didn't make a big deal about it when it was really important, or they didn't release the full scope of what it was. And I'm really trying to like remember everything, because I don't know the ins and outs, but I can give you a source that does. But she was making a stink about this, and she was starting to say things that they didn't like, and she came forth and was like, I will not commit suicide. I will not do this. I will not, be incinerated by my car. I will not, whatever it is.
I'm going to live. Yeah.
And then in 2022, she showed up as a suicide.
Imagine.
And it's really it's a deep rabbit hole, and
it is. It's hard not to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was involved with a whole bunch of other scientists that also have their own rabbit holes here in Huntsville. And in light of the recent scientists that are going missing or showing up dead in weird openly, like, this is not what this is ways. She was became even more of a highlight as that's starting to happen.
So you're now developing this UAP focused comic. So what is it about the UAP phenomenon that made you decide that it deserved its own project, and how much actual UFO history is influencing your story?
So the leading quote is, "The universe is either traversable or it isn't. And if it is, we shouldn't be surprised that anybody's here."
Mm.
And if it isn't, then we're going to die here in short order. We
Okay.
have a nuclear arsenal that can do us in.
For sure. Yeah.
All it takes is a meteor, or an asteroid that's, not that big to
Yeah.
wipe us off.
Yep.
We have super volcanoes. We have, in whatever way you think about it, global warming, man-made or not, we have a potential for a new ice age. There are a million things that can just reset us or completely kill us.
For sure.
And
For sure.
and I think it's of high priority that we be thinking about new physics, and maybe not new physics, maybe some science that we don't even have a label for, to get us off this planet. But let me attribute real quick. That quote is from Eric Weinstein. I think when he was talking to Chris Williamson on Modern Wisdom, that podcast. So, but that quote has never left me. When I heard it, I was like, "Oh wow, that's like
Yeah.
that's a strange epiphany of kind of
Mhm.
thing." So I'm creating a story that's like, it derived, like, just like the demonic stuff is derived off real world demonology. I'm trying to get stuff that is derived from real world sightings. I'm starting with the
Right.
Nimitz sighting.
Okay.
I'm going to be kind of putting you in the perspective of Fravor, as those two jets go out and see what they're told to go see, him engaging it, and then him chasing it, and then it disappearing. That's a really it's one of the most iconic and one of the most compelling stories, I think, in the UAP apparatus.
In
That
modern times,
can
for
kind of link
sure. Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's a lot of fiction. Like
Okay.
the character is that this is based around is something of a messiah figure.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and we'll have some exclusive releases here.
Sweet. Okay. I love
Um,
exclusive stuff. Let's go.
It's going to be called Opal.
Okay.
That's for several reasons. One of the things I forgot to mention is that my writing really started to take off when I got into role play on World of Warcraft back in like 2014. For about 7 years, I was role playing on World of Warcraft, and I had to really refine my writing, because you could see when it was bad from other players, and you could see how you could wrap in other elements of the world that they had already done the world building for into your character and into the story. For it's a very D&D kind of thing, but not really. But a lot of my writing came from that. Shoot, how did I get there? Oh, Opal was one of the
Yeah.
characters that my character really connected with, and she was like
Okay.
a through line throughout many of my characters. And
All right.
somebody else played Opal, but she was a really cool character. And this is calling the main character in this new book. It's kind of a homage to my World of Warcraft days, and but it's an acronym for Oracle Propulsion Advancement Lens, or
Okay.
for Oracle. There's two of them: Oracle Propulsion or Phase Advancement Lantern.
Okay.
That's but I'll make that more concrete as it goes on, because there's two entities that are going to be looking at Opal as two
Okay.
different things. You have your government and scientists looking at her as one thing, and then you've got the general public and the internet that sees her as another thing. And so it's going to derive different conflicting things that
So
happen.
this is still in
that way.
development then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
like I've said, I've been writing, I've been ruminating on it since like last December, and I've always wanted to make it, but I really started thinking about it last December, and then but it's only been like this past 2 weeks that I've got an outline, have written several episodes, refined several episodes, started on a couple of thumbnails. All of it's just now is getting the ball rolling. But
Do you have an idea of when you're gonna publish this?
I want to get probably about 7 to 10 episodes created.
Okay.
And if those are approximately 6 to 10 pages each, I'm looking at making about 60 pages. And so it could be about another year before it starts getting published.
Okay.
I want like an archive built up before I start doing it. I'm trying to show a lot more restraint and patience with it, unlike I did with Envy. Just because now I kind of know more about the ins and outs of how you want to grow your audience and let people see it and get chunks of it at a time. And then that allows me time to make another, chunk of the story as that gets released. And then it's probably going to be paywalled a little bit, like early access, on Patreon. But we'll just have to see. And I do intend on making Envy right next to it.
Okay.
But right now, I think my flow state and my passion for the UAP project right now is really hitting. So I'm like taking advantage of that.
That's the thing about being like independent artist like you, is like I use myself as an example as well, but I don't have a staff. And everything that I do myself. So, research, write a script, produce it, record it. And if I do video, which I've been doing this last year, then I got to go back and I got to not only, instead of editing audio, now I have to edit video, but then I'll try to make it, you don't want to put crap out there. You want it to be as good as you possibly can. So then you start getting bogged in the weeds with all this other stuff. And the next thing you know, it's like, well, geez, I don't have any time left. I'm, but you can only do so much. It's not like you're not going to sit down and do today let me do an Envy comic and bam, I'm done. And tomorrow I'm going to do my Opal and bam, I'm done. And it doesn't work like that. So you're going to have to, pick and choose, what you want to work on right now. And everybody that are fans, everyone that's been reading Envy, you're going to have to make them wait for a minute, but that's okay because it builds up that anticipation. So good luck with all that. That's a lot of stuff to do on your own. So I admire that. I admire your tenacity, and most of all, I'm a little envious of your creativity, because dude, I can't even draw a stick figure where you can tell what it is. It's horrible. So thank you for appearing on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And before we go, because we're running out of time, I ask everybody that appears on my podcast this, and I'm going to ask it of you too, Austin. So tell my listeners how they can find you on the web, how they can get your comics, both Envy and the coming up one with Opal, exclusive right here. You heard it first on ParaReality. And what about your social media accounts? How can we follow you? How can we get in touch with you? How can we grab your stuff? How can we get your comics?
I want to first disclose, if you want to look more into the Amy Eskridge story, I suggest going to YouTube and searching Stephanie Harlow, Amy Eskridge, and you'll get a full story of that, and with more detail than what I did. Just to get that off my plate real quick.
All right.
To go find me, you can go to AmericanDemonComics.com. You can read the web version of Envy on your phone or on the desktop. I recommend the phone because I think some pages are missing on the desktop still, but I have it set up like a webtoon where you can like scroll to read it.
Okay.
And then you can find me on Substack. Again, my website is going to have links to everything. So if you just go to AmericanDemonComics.com, I have a Substack link. I have Instagram and I have Facebook. And then to help support, just sign up for the mailing list, because at the moment, I sell these through Kickstarter and I sell them at conventions. So the best way to be up to date on when you can chip in on Kickstarter is to sign up over at Substack, and you get emails, you get the Envy updates, you get the videos that I do for paranormal investigation, a movie review if I feel like it, all kinds of things. Opal updates. So it's just a really good way to stay informed for American Demon Comics.
All right. Well, that's how you can find everything you need to know about American Demon Comics and Austin himself. Just go to AmericanDemonComics.com. Austin, thanks again for one more time for being on the podcast tonight. And thank you guys out there for listening. And those of you that are watching the video version, thank you for watching. And before we go, got to do the final commercial break of the night. So stand by and we'll be right back to close this baby down. Hey guys, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have a story, a question, or a topic you'd like me to cover? If so, you can reach me directly by email at sandman@parareality.com. Or for a more personal touch, you can just call the Secret Bunker at 615-461-5001 and leave a message. Just know that by calling, you're giving me permission to feature your voice on the podcast. Again, that number to call is 615-461-5001. You want to stay up to date with all things ParaReality? Then follow me on all major social media platforms. You can find me on Facebook at sandman.parareality, or you can follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok by looking for my handle at ParaRealRadio. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by looking for ParaReality 1. That's ParaReality with the number 1 behind it. And don't forget to visit my website, parareality.com. That's where you'll find an archive of all of my past podcast episodes for free. You can also find the latest in paranormal news from all around the world under the Para News section. Your support means everything, whether you buy something from my store or leave me a positive review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. A 3-star or higher review goes a long way in helping this podcast reach new listeners, and I would truly appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. My guest tonight has been Austin Light with American Demon Comics. If you want to find out more about Austin and the comics that he's creating, just go to AmericanDemonComics.com. Austin, one more time, thank you so much for appearing on the podcast. This was a really interesting conversation. I'm so glad that I got to have this with you. This was fascinating to me.
Yeah, I didn't even get to talk about the FBI agent that I'm training.
Oh my gosh,
at the gym.
Holy crap! So you might not want to talk too much about that because you might get shot. You might wind up suicided.
Tired.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you once again for appearing on the podcast, and
Thank you.
we're gonna have to find each other over the weekend, next weekend, and meet face to face. I'd love to be able to look through your comic and right there in front of me and get a chance to meet you face to face. So I'm going to make sure that we hook up while we're there.
Absolutely.
Once again, everybody, this is Austin Light with American Demon Comics. His comic is Envy, and he's working on an exclusive we just got right here, Opal, for his newest and latest UAP comic. So thanks for giving me that scoop. I don't know if that's going to do how much good that's going to do you, but thanks for that. I appreciate it. Everybody, my conversation tonight with Austin Light has brought us through some territory that longtime listeners of this podcast will probably recognize really well. Ghosts and demons and religion, folklore, UFOs, government secrecy, paranormal investigations, and maybe, I guess most importantly, the stories that we create to explain the things that we don't understand. And Austin approaches those subjects from a really unusual perspective. He's an artist creating fictional worlds populated by supernatural beings, but he's also an investigator walking into real locations where people claim to have encountered something that they can't explain. And those two worlds might seem completely different, but maybe they're not, because long before anybody started using this term UAP, human beings were looking up into the sky and reporting strange lights and mysterious visitors and all these strange phenomena. Long before paranormal investigators carried things like digital recorders and thermal cameras and EMF meters into these haunted locations, people were telling stories about spirits occupying the same spaces as the living. And long before modern horror transformed demons into monsters for the movies or for books or even comic books, cultures around the world were wrestling with questions about unseen intelligences, good and evil, temptation, consciousness, and forces supposedly operating beyond ordinary human perception. The names change, the stories change, the technology changes, but the experiences remain strangely familiar. And maybe that's just because us human beings have always been storytellers, like Austin is, like I am. When we encounter something we don't understand, we reach for the language that's available to us. And a person living 1,000 years ago might see something descend out of the sky and say, oh my God, that was an angel, or that was a divine being. And someone living today might describe that same experience and call it a UAP or an extraterrestrial craft of some kind. Somebody might wake up in the middle of the night, unable to move, experiencing sleep paralysis, but he might say, oh, well, that's a demon that's on me. And another one might just simply say it was an alien visitor. Like I said, modern medicine would probably say that that's sleep paralysis. And somewhere inside that enormous spectrum of interpretation lies the question that has kept people searching for answers for generations. And that is, what really happened? That's the question that matters, because the purpose of investigating the paranormal shouldn't be to prove the story that we already believe. It should be to follow the evidence wherever it leads us, even when that evidence challenges our assumptions. Sometimes the ghost turns out to be like a loose window or something. Sometimes the strange light turns out to be an airplane flying in the sky. And sometimes the frightening figure beside the bed may have a perfectly reasonable neurological explanation. But every once in a while, something remains. Picture, a recording, some weird radar return, or some eyewitness account. That's an experience that refuses to fit comfortably into any of the explanations that we've created for it. And that's where curiosity begins. So maybe ghosts and demons and UAPs and the other strange phenomena that humans have reported throughout history are completely unrelated. Maybe we're dealing with stuff like psychology, folklore, misunderstood natural phenomena, and just plain old coincidence. Or maybe we're looking at different pieces of a much larger puzzle, one that humanity has been trying to assemble for thousands of years without ever seeing the picture on the box. I don't pretend to know these answers. And after more than 2 decades of exploring these subjects, I've learned that sometimes the most interesting place to stand is somewhere in between belief and disbelief. Be willing to consider extraordinary possibilities, but still demand evidence before accepting extraordinary conclusions. And maybe that's why conversations like the one that I had tonight with Austin matter. Not because they give us definitive answers, but because they remind us that there are still questions worth asking. He did a lot of research for his comic book, a lot of looking into mythology and religion and folklore, and incorporated all of that into one all-encompassing universe. And maybe that's what we need to do ourselves. Instead of being so narrow-minded, maybe we need to take a page from Austin's comic, so to speak, and look at a broader picture, just like Austin did. And I'd like to thank him once again for joining me tonight and for sharing his work, his experiences, and his perspectives with me and with you out there listening. And remember, if you're going to Goblin Con next weekend in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, you'll have a chance to continue this conversation with Austin and with myself in person. Austin's going to be there representing American Demon Comics. I'll be there with ParaReality. So come find us. Come say hello. Check out Austin's work. And while you're there, come find me. Tell me your story. Get it on the podcast. If you've experienced anything strange, unusual, unexplained, paranormal, downright bizarre, I want to hear about it. You never know. Your story's probably going to wind up on the ParaReality podcast. There's something like wonderfully appropriate about all of us gathering in Hopkinsville. That's a place that's forever connected with one of the strangest alleged encounters in American UFO history. And we're going to be there talking about ghosts and cryptids and UFOs and demons with Austin and all those mysteries that refuse to fit neatly inside the boundaries of what we're told is possible, is not fitting neatly into that box. So until next time, keep questioning what you think you know, keep looking beyond the obvious, and never stop seeking the strange and the unexplained. I'm Sandman. He's Austin Light. This is ParaReality. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode. I'll be back probably next Friday around 8 p.m. Central, so make sure you tune in and find out, as I always say. Everyone, I hope that this podcast opened up your mind to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. Hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Austin. I hope you've had a wonderful evening. I hope you have an even greater weekend. And Austin and I will see you next weekend, August 22nd, 23rd, Hopkinsville, Kentucky at Goblin Con. Good night, everybody.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.